It is not just the countries with Muslim majority are interested in improving the environment to welcome Islamic finance. When we see an opportunity, when we see that Islamic finance can bridge some gaps from a practical and pragmatic perspective, they try to improve the environment for them. Strengthening insolvency frameworks. I have to admit that this is a challenge not just for the Islamic finance, but for conventional finance as well. Not very long ago, actually, it was in November that I was here in this very building, actually, to participate in a high-level seminar organized by the Central Bank, Bank Negara Malaysia, for matters related to exit rules. And if there are some challenges and complications facing conventional lines of business, there are more of that in the Islamic side as well, including the need from now to consider reliable mechanisms for possibilities of defaults for long-term finance instruments under the Sukuk concept. The promotion of the standardization, as I mentioned, in the area of regulations, again, the work that many institutions are doing to collaborate and coordinate, work together to promote standardization is very much welcome for the industry, including the investing in widely accepted benchmarks and indices. Matters related to liquidity management for long-term financing have been repeated as one of the main challenges facing the different sukuk issuances, including the fully guaranteed sukuks or the partially guaranteed sukuks, and those which are not covered by any kind of guarantee. Issues related to compliance. All of you are familiar with the challenges facing regulators and operating banks in complying with Basel II. Now we have the Basel III. They are coming with their own compliance issues of concern, including matters related to liquidity risk management that need to be addressed. And here, the Islamic financial industry, which is relying on equity-based finance, have a higher cost of capital, and they are more equity based than conventional banks, so they require some better arrangements for them. Here, we are facing this kind of a challenge that you have to comply with the rules, and there are these kind of specific requirements for the
Pending Islamic finance. There's been many discussion on enhancing cross-border transactions. In your view, how do we promote cross-border transactions specifically for the takaful industry?
Right. Well, I didn't discuss much the area of takaful, which I see as one of the growing areas of Islamic finance. I see a great deal of potential in it. In different Muslim countries. And here, the problem of long-term contractual savings, including conventional insurance for life and non-life, have a lot to be desired in developing countries. And while the averages could be reaching 7 and 8% of GDP in some of the developing and emerging markets, the members of OIC countries, you'll see that the insurance business or contractual saving arrangements could be less than 2 or 1% of GDP. And when it comes to takaful, it's an emerging line of business based on cooperative approaches. And here, in order to encourage the cross-border transaction, we need to do more on matters related to standardization. And I think the examples that were set forth by the Islamic banks as a form of financial institutions could be very much helpful in that. And the work that was conducted by the IFSB and AOFI needs to be extended as well into the takaful business. Having said that, I've been seeing significant growth in cross-border presence of takaful during the last 3-4 years, and I'm seeing the potential in this particular area. But again, matters related to standardization is a requirement of support here. And in the World Bank, we have the Capital Markets Group working on enhancing the business of insurance at large and the takaful business, and we are doing some work on this. We'll be quite happy to share that with you.
I will allow for one more question. One more question. Yes?
I'm Catherine from UNTL.
I'm sorry, can we have the lady? Because she asked first.
I'm Catherine from UITM. Thank you for a comprehensive compilation of the challenges and opportunities for Islamic finance. I have one very simple idea that I thought Dr. Mahdi would elaborate. I did some work on the Sharia compliance standards, as you were mentioning it just now. Whether there is going to be a universally acceptable standards, looking at the different schools of thought in Islam.
So can you repeat the second half again?
Looking at the different schools of thought, and not only in the Muslim world, but in the non-Muslim world, even in the Muslim world, there are different Sharia compliance.
In addition to help us expediting our grasping of the developments in knowledge in this area. And definitely when there's going to be more demand of the transactions, I would say that we'll be developing more and more expertise within the institution. As we have today, the top-notch experts in areas related to infrastructure finance for developing countries, or education, or health, or developing instruments to fight poverty, and we currently see more people involved in this area. But meanwhile, we are bridging the gaps of knowledge by having all of these able, specialized partners that are doing nothing but developing our understanding and knowledge of Islamic economics and finance. And we are encouraging our members of staff to provide their ideas and develop knowledge products, including publications in this area as well. Thank you.
Last question. Final is not really final in Malaysia. Does anyone have any more questions? Yes, sir?
Assalamu alaikum. I am coming from India. My name is Abdul Rafi, and General Secretary of Indian Center for Islamic Finance. Sir, in our country, India, whether World Bank can assist our regulators, because the regulators are resistant and reluctant to introduce Islamic finance. Though there are about 200 million Muslims are there, and also other people are also ready for ethical financing and social responsible financing. Whether World Bank can have some say to the regulators and do something for the team.
Well, we are already involved in different varieties of work with the Indian government and central banks, and the central bank there in our portfolio in development. As you know, India is one of the biggest partners in the bank as far as lending and getting investments from the bank, and we have one of our biggest missions in Delhi. Having said that, our work is there always based on the demand of the country. If they are requiring support and work and coordination, we are not going to be ever hesitant to provide that. And as I said, the Islamic financial instruments and institutions and the knowledge work is not just there for the countries with a majority of Muslims. We are getting huge demand by many countries that have as well Muslim minorities. And now with the development of the products of profit and loss sharing instruments and the increase of the quality of service, we see that this kind of service is going beyond religious groups. If you are providing good product, if you are providing a good service, here it's basically for the benefit of all, which is basically what we see here in this country, that many of the clients of the Islamic finance happen to be non-Muslims, but they are there for good quality of service, good supervision, good regulation, and the kind of competition being available through this industry. So the short answer, yes, we are ready to provide our knowledge, including as well the World Bank role as a connector of knowledge. In many cases, we don't claim expertise or having a monopoly of ideas and knowledge. In this case, we provide the support through getting the bank as a bridge of knowledge between those who would have good development of ideas and good experience with those who are seeking.
Well, I would like to ask Dr. Muhyiddin whether he wants to take another question.
Yeah, by all means. Yes, while I'm standing, I can get any question.
Okay. Does anyone have any question? Do we have anyone from this side?
It could be, well, it could be my turn to ask for just one question for the audience. Well, given that it's, I enjoyed very much the questions and the comments and taking notes with my colleague here, just on that to bring it to our team in the bank. But it could be useful as well at this stage. If you have, as mentioned, in a country-specific kind of suggestion, if you have any kind of request, expectation, suggestion for the World Bank as a group to be more involved in this area of Islamic finance or in any other area that you see us more capable of doing more in, I'll be quite happy to listen to that as well.
Any questions from the floor? Yes, sir?
My name is Dr. Benjamin Laudamota from INCEIF University College. The INCEIF University, we set up a Global Center for Islamic Banking and Finance and Entrepreneurship. And then we're involved into capacity building for Islamic banking and finance in countries like Thailand, Nigeria, Cambodia. And these are Muslim minority, like Thailand and Cambodia are Muslim minority countries, but Nigeria is a Muslim majority country. We'll like to know how the World Bank can have a collaboration with institutions that are really committed in helping these Muslim minority countries to develop Islamic banking and finance. In what area that you will expect our request or our contribution or a kind of collaboration with World Bank? I would just want to know the area that you are interested in. Thank you.
That we are the G188. You are familiar with the G20, the G24, the G77 of the past that's reviving itself today. Now we are the G188. And all of these countries around the world, as shareholders in the institution or beneficiaries of our work, we get ourselves involved in the developing countries, the low-income countries, and the middle-income countries. Beyond the ethnic or religious kind of classification of these countries, we do have lots of work in many countries in this region, for instance, some of them you mentioned, not based on of them having a minority or a majority of Muslims or Christians or non-religious people, but basically because they are members of the institution. Our interest in the Islamic finance, that we see it as one of the possible means and ways of development and fighting poverty, and including many of those who do not have any kind of access to financial services. As far as Islamic finance can provide these solutions, we are very much involved in them. We provide the quality of service and the support of services for these countries with Muslim minorities as we do it for Muslim majority countries, because, as I said, we go and look beyond this issue of classification of countries based on majority or minority, based on anything. And on that, we are very much impartial, pragmatic, practical, linking countries together with a spirit of cooperation and coordination between them. And at the same time, with a great deal of humility, that in many cases, I would say that we go and seek knowledge from an area, and we use the G188 membership to have this kind of knowledge transferred with and adapted in a way to be suitable to the culture and the conditions of the receiving countries. With this kind of background, we'd be quite happy to get ourselves involved in any kind of work in the different areas. And as I said, these things have been very much there. What we need is basically to scale them up, to develop them further, and to make sure that these kind of developments are fully acquainted with the rules of engagement in finance, under good regulations, good supervision, and serving the needs of the people. With these principles, we'll be quite happy to be engaged. And again, we have very big and strong programs with all of the countries you mentioned there, and Islamic finance could be definitely one of them.
Thank you, Dr. Muhyiddin. And with that, we close the floor for the question and answer session. And thank you for the audience for posing thought-provoking questions.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite Dr. Muhyiddin back to his seat.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the highlight of today's event, which is the MOU signing ceremony. We would like to invite Mr.
Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Muhyiddin, Managing Director of the World Bank, Tansri Dr. Zeti Akbar Aziz, Governor of Bank Negara in Malaysia, one of the most significant milestones for INCEIF in its brief history as we chart our path as a knowledge leader in Islamic finance. It is an honor to be partnering with such an august body as the World Bank in the development of human capital, research and knowledge sharing, including regulatory, supervisory and business practices. This is all in support of the fast-growing Islamic finance industry globally. It is also a huge recognition for the global Islamic finance industry itself. Simply put, this collaboration has linked the global industry through the work we do at INCEIF with the development of national economies. The potential for constructive growth is therefore very significant. We are confident at INCEIF that this collaboration will contribute to further the development and growth of Islamic finance globally for the benefit of everyone. Thank you, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Excellency Dr. Zeti, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me on behalf of the World Bank Group to sign this MOU. It's a kind of a humble recognition on our part of the importance